In that respect, we have received an application from Nelson and Harvey for the President of the Law Society of Kenya for and on behalf of the Law Society of Kenya. Nelson Harvey.
Please report, my Lord, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, David Kenani Maraga, my Lady, the Deputy Chief Justice and the Acting Chief Justice, and judges of the Supreme Court. My name is Nelson and Harvey. I appear on behalf of the Law Society of Kenya. If it may please you, my Lady, before you is the motion dated the 11th of January 2021, made on behalf of the Law Society of Kenya.
The order that I'll sign.
My Lady and my Lords, there are a total of 5 prayers sought in the motion. Permit me to proceed straight away to the substantive requests, and you'll find the substantive requests at prayer number 3, which reads as follows: that this Honorable Court be pleased to order that His Lordship, Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga, shall be deemed as having retired from the office of Judge, Chief Justice, and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya at midnight on 11th January 2021 upon attaining the age of 70 years. My Lady and my Lords, this motion is predicated upon 9 grounds set out on the face of the motion, which I will highlight in brief. My Lady and my Lords, under Article 167, Sub-Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya, a judge shall retire from the office upon attaining the age of 70 years. According to the records held by the judiciary, His Lordship, Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga, the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, was born on the 12th of January 1951. The records further indicate that the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga was admitted as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya on the 16th of October 1978. A perusal of the record further indicates that the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga served as a judge of the High Court of Kenya between October 2003 and 2011. My Lady and my Lords, the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga was appointed a judge of the Court of Appeal and served in that capacity between the 16th of June 2011 and the 19th of October 2016. The Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga was appointed and has served as Chief Justice and the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya from the 19th of October 2016 to date. My Lady and my Lords, as I conclude, it is my request that the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga, having been born on the 12th of January 1951, has attained the age of 70 years and is therefore due to retire from the office of the Judge, Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya today, 11th January 2021 at midnight. It is therefore my plea to the court that it is just and lawful that an order be made that the Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga shall be deemed as having retired from the office of Judge, Chief Justice, and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya at midnight, 11th January 2021, upon attaining the age of 70 years. The motion is predicated upon the provisions of law set out. It is my humble request that this motion be allowed. I'm most obliged, my lady and my lords.
Although we see that there is no appearance for any other parties, may anyone present have anything to say in opposition or support of the motion? There being no one, we shall proceed to consider the application and shortly give our ruling. Just before we render our ruling in this matter, allow me to say the following. The Chief Justice would ordinarily be seated on that side with Nelson Harvey, President, Law Society of Kenya, but the Constitution requires that the Supreme Court shall be fully constituted if a minimum of 5 judges sit. We also have developed jurisprudence that a judge whose matter is being considered, or for any other reason, the nature of the application is such that it has to be heard, and there isn't quorum, that judge would sit. In our case today, the foregoing principle, of course, was set out in reply. Those of us who read precedents know that. In today's proceedings, the Chief Justice is obliged to sit with us on this side because our sister, the Honorable Lady Justice Njoki, was completely unable to attend today's proceedings because of matters that she could not delegate to any other person. For that reason, therefore, and as a matter of necessity, the Chief Justice constitutes the bench so that we do not disobey the Constitution of Kenya 2010. That said, this is the ruling that we give in this matter with the subsequent necessary orders. The notice of motion under consideration, we find, is one that is merited based as it is on the Constitution, the law, and the sound jurisprudence in similar institutions like ours across the world. In the premises, the application by Nelson Harvey, the President of the Law Society of Kenya, succeeds in its entirety, and the same is granted as prayed. For the avoidance of doubt, the Chief Justice, David Kenani Maraga, shall be deemed to retire at midnight tonight, the 11th day of January 2021. There shall be no order as to costs. Each party will bear its own costs. And these proceedings shall be made permanent records of the court, and a copy thereof shall be supplied to the Honorable, the retiring Chief Justice, David Kenani Maraga. It is so ordered.
My Lady Justice, my Lords, Judges of the Supreme Court, on behalf of the Law Society, I'm very grateful to the court for having considered the application and made the appropriate orders. We are most obliged.
Thank you very much. Now that brings this morning's proceedings to a close, unless there is anybody present now who wishes to say anything by way of tribute, by way of anything to the Honorable, the Chief Justice, before we go to the next phase of today's events. There being nothing and no one wishing to speak, the court is adjourned.
team, etc. Thank you.
A very good morning to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Sports Check on this Monday morning. It's the 11th day of January 2021. It is also the day that, as you have seen, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, the Honorable Justice David Kenani Maraga, is set to retire. And just looking back at what was happening at the Supreme Court was that there was a motion presented by the Law Society of Kenya President Nelson Havi, and the motion was presented to amend, to have the Supreme Court make a decision that the Chief Justice David Maraga, who's also the President of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Kenya, will retire at midnight. Tonight, that motion was presented and accepted, and 5 judges of the Supreme Court were in attendance. Philomena Mwilu, the Deputy Chief Justice, was a presiding judge, and she is the acting Chief Justice. There was also Justice Dr. Smoking Wanjala, Justice Mohammed Ibrahim, Justice Isaac Lenaola. The judge who did not attend was Judge Joki Ndungo, who had a private matter to attend to. So she was not able to do so, and that's why Chief Justice David Maraga was sitting and attending in his position as the outgoing Chief Justice to have the legal number of judges, who are 5, so that that motion can be passed at the Supreme Court. It has been accepted. So we are through with the legal part at the Supreme Court, and the next event will be the handover of the instruments of power from outgoing Chief Justice David Maraga over to Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu. Let's go back to the Supreme Court and we can get a briefing on that right at the steps, as you can see on your picture. And the conversations there will be about the hand of the instruments of power. And remember that upon the age of 70, every Chief Justice has got to retire. Under the Constitution or dispensation that came in from the 27th of August 2010, the late Johnson Evan Gesher was the Chief Justice then, and he held office for 6 months. It was 6 months. That was one of the transitional clauses that was there. And we've had Dr. Willie Mutunga and now Chief Justice Maraga. Let's move over and to the Supreme Court as the ceremony continues.
Agencies of government. We also have with us staff of the judiciary. Justice Maraga retires after 18 years as a judge, where he served as a High Court judge, a Court of Appeal judge, and finally, Chief Justice of the Republic. He served for 4 years and 3 months as Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. And during his tenure, he has accomplished several things. He has stood out for the independence of the judiciary and the rule of law. Chief Justice Maraga becomes the first Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya to have graduated from the University of Nairobi, where he obtained both his bachelor's and master's degrees in law. His predecessor graduated from the University of Dar es Salaam, which was the only law school in the region at the time, but taught at the University of Nairobi, where Chief Justice Maraga, together with Justice Mwilu, Smoking Wanjala, and Justice Ibrahim, were his students as well. The Chief Justice tenure will be remembered for the strong fight for the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary, as well as his push for the adoption of technology in the dispensation and administration of justice. Indeed, the Chief Justice learned how to type and how to use a computer in his 60s, and since then has personally been typing his judgments, including his judgments in the Supreme Court. During his tenure, he has opened 22 new court buildings, most of which were funded by the World Bank under the Judiciary Performance Improvement Project, which has been very successful in supporting the transformational work of the judiciary from 2010. The jurisprudence that the Chief Justice leaves behind on electoral law, on piracy, on labor law, and on commercial law is very large. And because of this jurisprudence, the Chief Justice has been invited in very many parts of the world to give lectures and address important audiences and institutions, including universities, Andrews University in the United States, Harvard University in the United States, as well as Oxford University in the United Kingdom. The Chief Justice has been bestowed with honorary doctorate degrees from Andrews University in the United States, as well as Daystar University in Kenya. The Chief Justice also serves as the chairman of the Judicial Service Commission, and for the 4 years, 3 months that he's been in office, the Chief Justice has chaired 93 JSC meetings, has recommended for appointment a total of 69 judges, has recruited a total of 111 judges, magistrates, and judicial officers, appointed 94 judicial staff, processed and concluded 172 cases and complaints of judicial officers, promoted a total of 542 judicial officers and staff. The Chief Justice is also chair of the National Council on the Administration of Justice. During his term, the CJ has been given several awards, including the C.B. Madan Award, as well as being named the Jurist of the Year by the International Commission of Jurists in 2017. New Africa, which is an influential magazine in the continent, named Chief Justice Maraga as the 6th most influential public officer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now to invite the man of the moment, Kenya's 14th Chief Justice, David Kenani Maraga, to make his final statement.
My Lord, the Chief Justice of the Deputy Chief Justice and Acting Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, my Lords, the judges of the Supreme Court, the judges of the High Court, the judges of the other courts here present, and judicial officers, invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I stand here today full of gratitude and appreciation as I say goodbye to the judiciary after about 18 years of service to the people of Kenya. During this time, I have served first as a judge of the High Court Judge of the Court of Appeal, and finally, as the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. A time has come for me to say goodbye. I want to start by thanking God Almighty for the opportunity He gave me to serve the people of Kenya and the guidance He provided as I carried out my duties. You will recall, my fellow Kenyans, that in my interview for the position of Chief Justice, given the fact that the Supreme Court must hear and determine presidential election petitions within 14 days, I was asked a question whether I would sit on Saturday, my Sabbath day. I understood the question to require of me to make a choice between getting the job of Chief Justice and living by my faith. I determined to live out my faith, and I said I would not sit on Saturday. Thereafter, in accordance with these steadfast promises, God took over. The rest is history. He gave me the job and fought all my battles throughout the term I served as Chief Justice of this Republic. I don't know how to express my gratitude to him for considering me worthy of his marvelous grace and favors. A special thanks goes to my dear wife and the children behind me here. As well as my extended family. Throughout the term, the time I served, constitutional architecture, they have no better power than what you have. It is the people of Kenya who gave you the judicial authority to exercise it for their own good. I want to urge that you don't let the people of Kenya down. I'm sure you live in this country and you have seen the drums of political war being beaten already. My colleagues, if you waver and do the wrong thing, and this country descends into chaos, God will never forgive you. So my urge to you is stand firm. Do the right. I urge you, fellow Kenyans, to continue giving the unwavering support to the judiciary, and in particular the judges and the magistrates who are making various decisions, and keep praying for them so that justice and the rule of law can continue flourishing in our country forever. We must continue to invest in a strong, independent, and a fair judiciary, bearing in mind that sustained economic prosperity and the long-term political stability of this nation can only be guaranteed if the rule of law reigns. To maintain the rule of law.
institution is being handed over to the acting Chief Justice, Lady Justice Honorable Philomena Mbete Mwilu, the acting Chief Justice. The next to be handed over is the judiciary flag, the institutional flag, to signify the transfer of authority to the acting Chief Justice. And the final document item the Chief Justice is handing over to the acting Chief Justice is the status report on the judiciary. The judiciary as he has left it, from which the acting Chief Justice make reference. Those are the three items that the Chief Justice has handed over to the retired Chief Justice has handed over to the acting Chief Justice. And it is my pleasure now to invite the acting Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, to make her statement. Also with us are members of the Judicial Service Commission, led by the Vice Chair, Commissioner Dr. Mercy Deche.
My Lord, the Honorable, the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, David Kenani Maraga. Until midnight tonight, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court, the President of the Court of Appeal and your colleagues, the Principal Judge of the High Court and your colleague judges, the Presiding Judge and the judges of the Environment and Land Court, the Principal Judge and judges of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, the Honorable Vice Chair of the Judicial Service Commission, the Honorable the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, I don't know whether the President of the Law Society is still with us, whether he is or is not, the Honorable President of the Law Society of Kenya, the Honorable Magistrates, Kadhis, chairs and members of tribunals here present, judicial officers, and judiciary staff. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In the name of God and in my name, we come together this morning for a solemn and very special ceremony to say goodbye to the Honorable Chief Justice David Maraga, who was also the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, my colleague, my brother, and my friend, David Kenani Maraga.
To the retired Chief Justice has handed over to the acting Chief Justice. And it is my pleasure now to invite the acting Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Lady Justice Philomena Mwilu, to make her statement. Also with us are members of the Judicial Service Commission, led by the Vice Chair, Commissioner Dr. Mercy Deche.
My Lord, the Honorable, the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, David Kenani Maraga. Until midnight tonight, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court, the President of the Court of Appeal and your colleagues, the Principal Judge of the High Court and your colleague judges, the Presiding Judge and the judges of the Environment and Land Court, the Principal Judge and judges of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, the Honorable Chair, Vice Chair of the Judicial Service Commission, the Honorable, the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, I don't know whether the President of the Law Society is still with us, whether he is or is not, the Honorable President of the Law Society of Kenya, the Honorable Magistrates, Kadhis, chairs and members of tribunals here present, judicial officers, and judiciary staff. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In the name of God and in my name, we come together this morning for a solemn and very special ceremony to say goodbye to the Honorable Chief Justice David Maraga, who was also the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, my colleague, my brother, and my friend, David Kenani Maraga. We are gathered here, and rightly so, to celebrate his remarkable achievements during his tenure as Chief Justice, and to thank him for his significant contributions to the law, to the judiciary, and the service he gave to the nation. I am delighted that among us here are his friends, his family, who I know have been stalwart pillars of support for the Honorable Chief Justice, the sources of his strength and encouragement as he undertook his weighty responsibilities. We celebrate you too, family, friends, particularly you, his dear wife, Yukabeth, and we thank you. I will not attempt to list all the firsts and accomplishments Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga has achieved during his distinguished tenure as Chief Justice, for these are well known to those on the bench. Honorable Justices of the Supreme Court, the President of the Court of Appeal and your colleagues, the Principal Judge of the High Court and your colleague judges, the Presiding Judge and the judges of the Environment and Land Court, the Principal Judge and judges of the Employment and Labor Relations Court, the Honorable Chair, Vice Chair of the Judicial Service Commission, the Honorable, the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, I don't know whether the President of the Law Society is still with us, whether he is or is not, the Honorable President of the Law Society of Kenya, the Honorable Magistrates, Kadhis, chairs and members of tribunals here present, judicial officers, and judiciary staff. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In the name of God and in my name, we come together this morning for a solemn and very special ceremony to say goodbye to the Honorable Chief Justice David Maraga, who was also the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, my colleague, my brother, and my friend, David Kenani Maraga. We are gathered here, and rightly so, to celebrate his remarkable achievements during his tenure as Chief Justice and to thank him for his significant contributions to the law, to the judiciary, and the service he gave to the nation. I am delighted that among us here are his friends, his family, who I know have been stalwart pillars of support for the Honorable Chief Justice. The sources of his strength and encouragement as he undertook his weighty responsibilities. We celebrate you too, family, friends, particularly you, his dear wife, Beth, and we thank you. I will not attempt to list all the firsts and accomplishments Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga has achieved during his distinguished tenure as Chief Justice, for these are well known to those on the bench, in the bar, across the judiciary, the legal fraternity, and indeed, the nation at large. But with your leave, my Lord Chief Justice, allow me to say a short, very personal tribute for you as a judge and jurist for whom I have much admiration and respect. From your admission to Sironga Primary School in 1961, to your admission to the bar in 1978, to your selection as chairman of the Rift Valley Law Society in 1987, to your appointment as Chief Justice, as Judge of the High Court in 2003, to your promotion as Judge of Appeal in November 2011, to your elevation to the position of the Chief Justice of the Republic in 2016, and to this important day, your officers and judiciary staff. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In the name of God and in my name, we come together this morning for a solemn and very special ceremony to say goodbye to the Honorable Chief Justice David Maraga, who was also the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, my colleague, my brother, and my friend, David Kenani Maraga. We are gathered here, and rightly so, to celebrate his remarkable achievements during his tenure as Chief Justice and to thank him for his significant contributions to the law, to the judiciary, and the service he gave to the nation. I am delighted that among us here are his friends, his family, who I know have been stalwart pillars of support for the Honorable Chief Justice. The sources of his strength and encouragement as he undertook his weighty responsibilities. We celebrate you too, family, friends, particularly you, his dear wife, Beth, and we thank you. I will not attempt to list all the firsts and accomplishments Honorable Mr. Justice David Kenani Maraga has achieved during his distinguished tenure as Chief Justice, for these are well known to those on the bench, in the bar, across the judiciary, the legal fraternity, and indeed, the nation at large. But with your leave, my Lord Chief Justice, allow me to say a short, very personal tribute for you as a judge and jurist for whom I have much admiration and respect. From your admission to Sironga Primary School in 1961, to your admission to the bar in 1978, to your selection as chairman of the Rift Valley Law Society in 1987, to your appointment as Chief Justice, as Judge of the High Court in 2003, to your promotion as Judge of Appeal in November 2011, to your elevation to the position of the Chief Justice of the Republic in 2016, and to this important day, yours, my Lord, has been a life of service, a professional and personal example characterized by hard work, honesty, and integrity, fidelity to the rule of law and the Constitution, and most importantly, obedience to and faith in God. Over the past 4 years, it has been my honor and privilege to serve as your deputy and vice president. I have gained immensely from working with you, learning from your mentorship, encouragement in moments of weakness, and your advice. As president of our court, you led us with your knowledge, fair and balanced disposition, your courteous demeanor, and your neutral and sensitive consideration of the opinion of your colleague judges, as well as the arguments and submissions of counsel before us. Beyond inventing an important ringtone, your contribution to jurisprudence really does speak for itself. As Chief Justice, your commitment, your vision, and leadership accelerated transformation in the judiciary. It deepened independence of the institution, accountability of judges, and transparency across the institution. It increased public confidence in the courts and tribunals, and enhanced access to justice for many Kenyans. My Lord, you leave a proud, irreversible legacy, particularly in regard to harnessing technology towards the effective and efficient dispensation of justice, judicial independence, protecting and entrenching the rule of law, and fidelity to the same across public governance to the Constitution. When any reflection on the development of our constitutional democracy is undertaken, your name, my Lord Chief Justice, shall be written large, inexorably and honorably within it. My Lord, you have undertaken the onerous responsibilities of Chief Justice with outstanding dedication and faced all the numerous and considerable challenges facing our institution over the past 4 years with grace, judiciousness, and resolute determination. One of the most important principles you echoed in your strategic blueprint, sustaining judiciary transformation, a service delivery agenda for the period 2017-2021, and which you entrusted to me for execution, was on individual accountability, a bottom-up approach through which each one of us focused on our own personal performance towards achieving the transformative objectives in the document that we know as the SJT. In doing so, my Lord, not only did you ensure that our service improved as an institution, in transforming our organizational culture, you have ensured that we will not drop the ball during this transition. As you move to the next phase of your career, rest assured that your legacy is firmly and securely assured. My Lord, you have guaranteed that this transition is honorable, it is respectable, and it is guided by the Constitution and the law, and is in the finest traditions of this esteemed institution. For whatever period that it will please God for me to serve as the acting Chief Justice, I shall ensure that we further entrench and build on your legacy, and that the judiciary shall forge ahead and continue its journey of transformation. Importantly, during this transition, we must consolidate, organize, and ensure that the incoming Chief Justice has the information, the structure, tools, and resources to hit the ground running and propel our institution to even greater heights. No doubt, I speak for the leadership and all of us in the judiciary. My Lord Chief Justice, you leave your judiciary family after over 17 years of exemplary service. I want to thank you personally and on behalf of all of us here present at the judiciary. May your joys be multiplied. May you be blessed as you go, and may you remain blessed with all that is wholesome. And may the good Lord continue to bless your work and your deeds, for I have no doubt myself that you shall continue to contribute significantly to the development of the law and our nascent constitutional democracy. May the Lord God's peace and grace be with you and your wife, Yukabeth, and your entire family as you continue on the next stage of your illustrious journey. We wish you well, my Lord Chief Justice. We wish you well. And we thank God for you, and thank God for the judiciary of Kenya and for the people of the Republic whose delegated authority we exercise in the discharge of our daily duties. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Acting Chief Justice. Now the Chief Justice will take his exit. He has a word to say, Chief Justice. Yes, before that, he'll be officially derobed. He'll be officially derobed. The official robes of the Chief Justice are being taken off. It is almost a cyclic journey from the bar to the bench and back to the bar, sartorially speaking. This is the third transition we are having since 2010 Constitution. The first one was when the former Chief Justice, the late Evans Gisheru, retired, succeeded by Dr. William Mutunga, and then succeeded by David Kenani Maraga. Having been derobed, this Chief Justice is back, his full civilian outfit. He'll now take his exit. He'll acknowledge greetings from judges and staff, escorted by the Acting Chief Justice and the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary and the Vice Chair of the Judicial Service Commission. The Chief Justice is bidding farewell to a group of individuals that have been part of his family for the last 18 years, since he became Judge of the High Court rising to the Court of Appeal before ultimately ascending to the esteemed office of the Chief Justice. He has worked with most of these judges and staff, and they are now bidding them final goodbye. At the end, the Chief Justice will hand over government stores to the Chief Registrar, the official car, the national flag that normally flutters on his car, and that number plate CJ1 will be handed over to the Chief Registrar as an indication of the complete transfer of power and authority in this institution. Yes, the of government stores is in process, where the Chief Justice is handing over the official car, CJ1, number plate, the removal of that. Yeah, the CJ1 number plate is being handed over by the CJ's office to the judiciary. The national flag that flutters on his car is also being handed over to the Chief Registrar of the judiciary for her custody. That completes the transition that we've been having at the judiciary. So, having been deprived of his official car, the CJ now moves to his private car, which will take him home. Escorting his wife to his private car before he takes the final exit. And the CJ boards his private car to leave the judiciary for the last time. A historical day that is the daily orderliness of the institution in managing its affairs, including high-level transactions. Gentlemen, the CJ has given his last salute. Maraga, thank you for your service.
Indeed, thank you so much, Chief Justice David Kenani Maraga, who has just handed over the instruments of power to his deputy, the acting Chief Justice Philomena Mbete Mwilu here at the Supreme Court of Kenya. It has been an auspicious occasion that started from the court, whereby there was a motion that was prayed for by the President of the Law Society of Kenya in regards to the retirement age of the Chief Justice David Kenani Maraga, whereby by today midnight, when it strikes midnight, the Chief Justice will be attaining the legal age of 70 years old, which is the age according to the Constitution when a judge is supposed to retire. Well, the motion prayed for was granted by the bench that had sat today, whereby the Chief Justice David Kenani Maraga sat for his last time in court as the Chief Justice of Kenya. Here also outside of the Supreme Court of Kenya, we're able to see the handing over of the instruments of power, the 3 instruments of power, which included the Constitution of Kenya, the flag of the judiciary, and the status report of the judiciary. Thereafter, we're able to see the Chief Justice being derobed, whereby it just shows that she is being taken from the bench, as it had been said before. And thereafter, we've seen him bid farewell to some of the legal practitioners here at the Supreme Court of Kenya. And then thereafter, we're able to see the number plate of the official car that he normally uses being changed back to his civilian number plate, and thereafter given the last salute and left the Supreme Court of Kenya. Well, it has been an auspicious occasion here at the Supreme Court of Kenya, where we have been able to see the whole change of guard of the Chief Justice of Kenya, David Kenani Maraga, who has served for about 18 years as a judge, and since he came to office in 2016 as the Chief Justice of Kenya. Today midnight he attains the age of 70 years as stated in the Constitution of Kenya, thereby being the retirement age whereby he leaves office and grants the instruments of power to the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mbete Mwilu, who will be acting as the Chief Justice for the next period of time of about 6 months until the next Chief Justice is appointed, whereby there will be a very serious exercise of interviewing persons who have practiced for about 15 years, who have had 15 years of legal practice before they are vetted by the National Assembly. First of all, they'll be interviewed by the Judicial Service Commission, and thereafter their names will be forwarded to the National Assembly, and after the vetting by the National Assembly, a name will be forwarded to the President for appointment. Well, as you await this, the appointment of the next Chief Justice of Kenya, the acting Chief Justice will be his deputy, who is Philomena Mbete Mwilu. Well, from us here at the Supreme Court, I'm Sarafina Robi. Back to you in studio.